Hello, everyone. My name is Gilbert. I am a poet and the facilitator / leader of this wonderful group of poets, mostly ambassadors from the Davis Phinney Foundation, and probably a couple of other faces you might recognize from the Davis Phinney Foundation as well. We've been meeting together for 2 full years now, with only a few changes in the members of the group, very few. There are a couple of people who couldn't be here tonight. Oh, there's Tom, good. Tom made it. The plan for this evening is that we're gonna do 2 rounds. Each poet will read 1 or 2 poems in each round. We'll have a little tiny turnaround in the middle. But let me tell you a little bit about why poetry, especially regarding Parkinson's. A lot of people sometimes ask me, what does poetry have to do with Parkinson's? And for me personally, and I think for increasingly a few others, it has everything to do with it. I call it metaphor medicine. However, be forewarned, poetry is not for everyone. The cowardly, devious, deniers, and liars cannot benefit from it. Poetry only works for those brave, compassionate, and impertinent enough to acknowledge, name, and accept the hardest truths, especially about themselves. I have another very short poem called Parky Poet. If a voice drops, breaks, falls silent, and no one is there to hear, did the voice ever make a sound? To whom does its absence belong?
Love that.
So poetry is in part about voice, about having your own voice and using your own voice. That's kind of where a lot of the medicine comes from. In Parkinson's, as you all probably know, are all too aware, one of the things that often goes or diminishes is literally the human voice. But in poetry, there is no mute. There is no diminishment. There is no loss of voice. It's the opportunity to express what is deepest within you and share with others. So let's get right down to it. Our rule when we meet is always to put it crudely, shut up and read. By that we mean there are no big long explanations. There's no introduction to the poems. We read the poems, we look up, and then we applaud. This is the way we applaud because Zoom doesn't like all this noise. This is applause in American Sign Language. Our first poet this evening is from Ontario, our Canadian and good friend, who is very active in the Canadian Parkinson's community, as well as our own, Joe Van Koeverden. Joe?
Yeah. I'm going to start with make a mark with your spark. Living in a material domain, we judge each day by what we do, marking the passing of time too. Thoughts of who we are our refrain. Are we spirit or are we beast? Will we war or together feast? Can we share our earth today? Can we hold our enemies at bay? In our bodies, we feel autonomous, but when we breathe the same air. It's only in space we need to possess, on Earth the O2 we need to share. Are we alone? Do others exist? Have they watched us, or even more? Do they see how the gods we adore? Will they come in peace or in war insist? As we pass from the material sphere, we let go of everything, matter is gone. No need for time, as everything is one. Past, present, and future all seem so near. Will questions be answered, even our mold? As was that what we were told? What will it be like being all together as spirits merging for the better? Don't hold life too dear, my friend, as your future may be around the next bend. But don't waste your spark. Leave a mark. Then we can say we lived not in the dark. Shall I go right on to the next one?
Yes, Joe, please go right ahead.
Okay. Pay it forward. It all seemed normal, slowing down with age, gravity pulling at my body to make the ground a closer friend, ready to meet at a moment's notice. But I pushed back again, refused to meet at his level, walking straight, poles in hand, taking the trail till the cedar's end, working through the stiffness and the pain. I will push back today as I can for now, not knowing what tomorrow will hold or how I will respond. I do my best, forget the rest till morn, and as the morn revives, rise to meet my daily challenges, to make do with what there is today, being helpful and supportive in any way. It may not be my best, but it's all I have left. Pay it forward in selfless acts of kindness, for you too may find that one day you can no longer walk alone on your trail, needing the same support you freely gave away. Thank you.
Joe, thank you so much. Wonderful, wonderful. Joe has quite a website. You should feel free to check out. Sometime he has some poems there, among other things. You can see his name, I think, below his name and find his website that way. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Wayne.
I'm going to introduce the next person. Some of you might already know him. He joined our group about a year ago now, I think, and has been bringing poems every month. Davis Phinney.
Thank you, Wayne. This is called The Weight of Yourself, and it was written in June 2021, and it's my first entry as a poet. A dream remembered in fragments, an old film run through a family projector, scratchy, uncertain, but it is me, sliding on snow, going with gravity, for once, flowing, floating, and in control of my body. I am in control of my body, a rare and beautiful sensation, a luxury, anymore the province solely of dreams. Dopamine deficiency stripping away my abilities like a tree denuded of bark, leaving me vulnerable, weak, exposed. And yet, in this dream, I luxuriate in the waiting and unwaiting, the absolute joy of attaining a certain lightness of being, if only for an elusive few moments. But in those moments, I am free, like a hawk flinging itself up onto a soaring thermal, untethered, unrestricted, filled with purpose and grace, unbound. The film runs its course, preview over, reel looping round and round as the grainy picture grows vague. Still, savoring the sensation, eyes open and testing to feel the weight of myself. Not too heavy, yeah.
Yeah. I hope members of our audience are noticing already that one of the ways poetry really makes a difference in our lives, especially our inner lives, I think, is this way of facing some difficulty, some honest appraisal of what's happening to me. And as we reach down and grab that, something comes with it in the poem, usually by the end or somewhere near the end, that gives something back, something for us to take away from that acknowledgement, which might be painful. Well, our next poet isn't here yet, I hope. Oh, there she is.
Y'all, we have had some.
Okay, that's all right, Jan. Take your time, we'll go on ahead, okay?
Please, yes, thank you. I'll be right here.
Okay. So I'm going to invite Connie to read, if she would. Connie Carpenter Phinney. Connie's been with the group from the very beginning. Yeah, go ahead, Connie.
I am the token caregiver in the group and an avid poet, I would say, my whole life. So this has been a wonderful experience for me. Thank you, all of you guys, for letting me fill that role for you. This is called Nothing Left. And I think it was a prompt based on forgiveness. Nothing left. In the luminous west, time flies, pulling contrails into the night like dreams, into liminal spaces. Gravity anchors feet to cold earth. Bodily remains swirl in the sky. Dwindling light, lasting eternal awe. Nothing to forgive, nothing left to forget.
Thank you, Connie.
Yeah.
Thank you. You can see also poetry doesn't require one length or another. Some poems are very short, some poems are longer, some poems are really long. It all depends on what it is you're trying to say and to whom. Well, let's hear from our next poet, Tom Consentino joined us just a few months ago, and we're really happy to have Tom with us. And Tom's going to read. Which one are you going to read first, Tom?
I'd like to read Stranger, if I may.
Great.
Okay, let me pull that up. A stranger is a friend I haven't made yet. 6.5 years ago, Parkinson's was a stranger to me. He introduced himself rather subtly at first. It was just a slight tremor in my left arm. As the days turned into weeks and weeks turned into years, he became less of a stranger. He became my friend. As such, with any friendship, I welcome him with open arms. Today, I take him with me wherever I go. I find in life it's easier to travel with a friend than a stranger.
Have you got another one right now?
Yeah, let's throw basic training. That was one of the last ones I wrote.
Right.
I kind of like it. So basic training. Here we go again, same old stuff again, marching down the avenue. Stand in this line, get a haircut. Stand in this line, get your boots. Stand in this line, get your fatigues. Forget who you were, forget where you came from. We are Alpha, mighty, mighty Alpha. We're not many, we are one. Sunday morning, sun is slowly rising, watching the dew, turn on the radio, hear Casey Kasem's voice. The Commodore is playing easy, easy like Sunday morning. I smile to myself. At this moment, I am not Alpha, I'm just me.
I'm just me. I, the poetry is music. Poetry comes with music. Poetry comes like music. It's a wonderfully musical medium, and it finds the music in language and in our emotions and even in ideas, for that matter. And I think you could hear some in Tom's piece there. Amy, you ready down there? Amy Carlson's in California. She has just put the top up on her convertible Volkswagen, where she is a Volkswagen Bug. And I think she's sitting at this beautiful place above LA, and she's going to read to us from there. Amy?
I do. I have a beautiful view, but I had to put the top up because my phone was overheating. So, yeah. All right. So here we go. This poem is called Isn't It Perfect? No, it's not called that. It's called It Isn't Perfect. Okay. A hole, a joke, a crossroads. The door doesn't fit the frame. The path wobbles. The air is wicked. The light is so bright. My hands are so cold and the ice is hot. Her breath pops. One corner sinks. One door is missing. There are leaves in the bed. And I am left out in the rain. The X's are orange. The trees will go. The water is steel. We keep the keys on the seat. There is a pile of bark and I should leave. How do you reach the end?
Whoa. Wow. How indeed. Nice question at the end. Thank you, Amy. Do you have another one for this round, or one you're going to save it for the next?
I should save it for the next because I've got one for each round. So
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Jen, are you ready to go?
Well, we have had some interesting things happen, and it's all my fault, I fear. And this first selection may not be at the level technically it needs to be, I mean, sound-wise, but we're going to give it a try, and I will hopefully be better when my second time comes around.
Is this the Desert Sky poem?
It is indeed.
Okay. So there we go. Now everyone, this is the, may I say a quick word, Jan, before you start?
Please, these are your poems.
I wrote this poem and submitted it to the group. And as I recall, Jan was one of the first people to say, "What is that?" Or something to that effect. She said, "I don't even know how to read that." And I said, "Yeah, that's the idea," or something equally wise and insightful. And we began to talk about it and kind of play with it. And she took it as a challenge. And so we spent some time on the side working with it, and she created a piece where she basically reads my poem the way she reads my poem, with music that she matched to the poem. So Jan, take it away.
Oh, I'm just going to tell you that this first part of the poem, Desert Sky, the music was composed by my husband with my help and input. And the second half is actually a nocturne by the composer Francis Poulenc. And it's called Bal Fantôme, which means ghost ball. I think the music fits the rest of Wayne's poem really beautifully. Okay, can you hear me so far?
So far, you're good.
Okay, here we go. This is Desert Sky. My body Willis. Only this heavy stone head on the dark, hard hazel land. My age receding. Ex nihilo. A light plays, a little blues off the granite, spills white rays, splatter dots release, my tension, my body untunes, longing, reaches, leans towards relief. Did any of that come through?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Not as clearly as when we rehearsed or when you rehearsed,
Yeah.
but you know, sometimes I think technology is a lot like Parkinson's. Some days things are working pretty well. Never 100% perfect by any means. And some days they're working kind of well, and some days they just downright, well, don't work at all. So this was not the latter. It wasn't as clear as it might have been, Jan, but it was still lovely and we could hear, and I'm glad
Did you hear the words?
I'm glad we put the poem up.
Oh, good.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This technology, I've had occasion to reflect on it a lot. As a recluse, especially a sort of hermit monk in my little cave above the city of Denver, and Zoom, this is a way to keep in touch, to keep engaged. It's not the same as if we were sitting beside the piano listening to Jan play and listening to her be on the mic. It's not the same as if we were literally sitting in the same venue together where we could hug or at least fist bump or whatever. But on the other hand, this group is amazing. I didn't mention Jan is in Louisiana, where she was on the faculty of LSU. And Tom is in Maryland. And
we are a diverse group, if nothing else, right?
we are from all around the country. And
Yes,
I love that fact. We would not be together but for that. And
that's right.
in 2 years, we have become truly a community in the best, deepest sense of that word.
We have.
And that's a miracle. So I celebrate that. And
Mhm.
so next poet, Joe O'Connor lives in Massachusetts, but he happens to be in Maine, where apparently the internet connections are, shall we say, problematic. So he's with us on his phone, and he's going to read on his phone, and you can look at his mug there while he reads. Joe.
Parkinson's is like an elevator ride, full of bumps and jumps and floors and landings. Picture an elevator. If there aren't any floor numbers in any area of this elevator, you don't know what floor you got on at. The bottom section of the floor is called early onset. The middle area of the floor is called normal time. What about this elevator is normal? Glancing at the top, getting on area, you see the words late onset. Well, I got on a normal time. I asked the operator, on what floor am I getting off? Some of these floors look pretty far away. No response is returned. That seems ominous. The elevator jerks upward. Take note, this is no easy ride. There'll be a lot of bumps. The doors open at pity party. There seems to be a lot of crying around a Christmas tree. Then I realize this is my diagnosis date, right around Christmas. Like a modern day Scrooge, I wish to see no more. And the silent operator yanks me back in. The elevator jerks upward again. The doors open at first fall. I find myself running with my running buddy when suddenly my legs tangle and down I go. And after a few stitches in the emergency room, the operator pulls me back in. Many stops go by, second fall, third fall, early retirement, support group, and so many clinical trial stops, 47 as of right now. Up the elevator continues its journey. The doors open at DPF ambassadors. This is such a fun place. Some of the subfloors you see here are leadership conference, poetry group, pen pals, storming the Capitol, and so many new friends. To count them all would be impossible. But all of us reach out to each other and share with each other. It's a warm feeling place. I love to linger there. The next floor visited is called praise. Here I find that people really find value in what I do. Strangely, I find myself reluctant to step out, but with a rare smile, the elevator operator pushes me out, and I hear so many thanks and accolades that my ears really echo with compliments. Still in the elevator, the operator smiles as he looks on, and then he beckons me to return. Up the elevator rises. The next floor is called chorus. On this floor, you are invited to join, even if you can't carry a tune in a bag, a fun floor. And when I hope to continue to visit, I notice several subfloors arranged by visit dates.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. See, that's the other thing that's amazing about this place the screen we're on is you can be here without actually being here. Yeah, strange. Here we are. Well, our next poet is in Washington State, Wendy Miller. Wendy, take it away.
Thank you. This is called Blurt Memory. Pick a memory, any memory. But I don't have a good memory. I didn't say it had to be a good memory. No, that's not what I mean. I know what you mean. Just remember something at random. Okay, tiger swallowtail. Again, lobster Cantonese. Another, my mother conquering her agoraphobia to try to pick me up from elementary school in her bathrobe. See what I mean? You have no idea what you mean. As I recounted the prompt to him, he made a Nabokov joke. Speak, memory. Then squeal, memory. Then blurt, memory. See what I mean? You have no idea what you mean. The memory of visiting the birthplace of Hieronymus Bosch showed up as a dream. But when I woke, I wasn't convinced it was a real memory. Because what in the world were a music festival and a bunch of bohos in an inner city train doing in the artist's memory? But he confirmed it. Blurt memory.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you. I hope you can also begin to see, dear audience, listeners, viewers, that the range of subject matter here is wide. And I do send a prompt out each and every month, but that doesn't mean that everyone uses it, because often a poet has a prompt of his or her own and goes with that, which is as it should be. Everyone's a poet by nature. I know there are many of you thinking right now that can't be. Certainly not me. Yes, it's as much a part of you as the child in you. And whatever your capacity to play might be as an adult is equal to the capacity to be a poet, because those two are strongly linked, play and poetry. Most of the people in this group didn't write poetry before we came together. And every single poet here, I can tell you, is writing work now that they would not have dared think they were capable in many cases 2 years ago. It's true. And it's awesome to see. I don't believe for a minute that not everyone could be a poet. Everyone is already. It isn't about becoming one. You just have to kind of find that voice within you. I'll share a little piece here. It's a Parky blues. It's called Some Mornings. Some mornings I wake up, some mornings I never do. Some days I get in gear and some days I never do. Some days I feel like dancing. Some days I can't remember how. Today I waited and waited, lingered deep under covers. I waited and waited. I wanted to know before I moved which way I was gonna go. I scanned my body's surface, took a deep, deep dive below just to take a reading. How's it gonna go? I heard the blues come back to me. Dum, bum, dum, bum. Dum, bum, dum, bum. The blues are always playing. I heard the guitar and organ chords. The drums kick up a beat, the bass. Dum, 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 dum. Dum, 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 dum. Finally, the voice low down said, tonight, today, tonight might be the day, tonight might be the night you find your way. Boom, 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 back home. Boom, 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 back home. Today you might just find your way back home. So get up and go. Get up and go. Don't get up and go. Doom. Okay, take your meds first.
I loved it. Who needs accompaniment when you can do that?
I have a whole band in here.
Yes, you do. Yes, you
And
do.
they all just want to play. Well,
great.
that's the end of our first round, and we're going to circle around now back and give everyone one more chance to read from their poems again. Yeah, I think let's take 1 second here and just sort of give everybody who's already read a hand. I know we can. Yeah, that's good. All right, thank you. And here we go with round 2. Thank you all for listening and checking in here. We really appreciate it. Writing a poem is very meaningful to the poet and can be a real release, a real kind of very real medicine. On the other hand, it's so nice for it to be heard. Wendy Miller is going to open our second round. Wendy?
This poem is called Trope. Trope, nope, to false hope. Is there real hope? Maybe nope. It's not dope, this inability sometimes to cope. I struggle to grope for hope, formerly through dope, a slippery and enjoyable slope, until they converted into a noose my rope, of hope through dope, to one big nope. I'd like to elope with hope and take a bath in its sexy soap. Bubbles of hope, lather of hope. Soap on a rope. Bring me a rope to tie up my hope, to help me cope, to minimize the scope of my lifetime of cynical rejection.
Yeah,
Wow.
thank you.
Wendy.
I think most of us have a complicated relationship with hope. And you put it beautifully. Thank you, Wendy. Joe O, would you go next, please, in the second round?
Okay, this is a very different poem. It's about a church. Once upon a time, there was a small village called Oakdale. It stretched out as farmlands and a modest town center in the Nashua River Valley. The mighty Nashua River runs through the center of town, with fields of apples and corn stretching off into the distance. The Protestant and Catholic churches stand on the high ground. An idyllic, sleepy town. 40 miles to the east, and the old wooden stave pipes leaked, narrowed by calcification as the water coursed through. But Boston needs water. The small village will have to go. Boston needs water. The sprawl of the city of Boston continues to grow. Damming rivers will create a large reservoir. Many rivers to dam.
Thank you, Joe. Many waters to dance.
Mm.
Oh, man. I keep losing it. Sorry,
What-
folks.
What happened?
I lost it in the middle of it.
I thought
Lost
so.
the connection.
Well,
Where did you last think? Where did you last hear?
last thing I heard was about being in the middle of the water.
Oh, good grief. Wow.
Why don't you start
The
again?
fields of apples and corn stretching off into the distance. The Protestant and Catholic churches stand on the high ground of an idyllic, sleepy town. 40 miles to the east, and the old wooden stave pipes leaked and narrowed by calcification as the water coursed through. But Boston needs water. This small village will have to go because Boston needs water. The sprawl of the city of Boston continues to grow. Damming the rivers will create a large reservoir. Many rivers to dam. Dam the Merrimack? No, the prosperous mill town of Lowell must be protected. Dam the Charles? What, and drown Harvard? No, whatever. Remember, Boston needs water. Eyes turned out for the Wachusett region. The Nashua runs through the valleys. The sleepy towns of Sterling, West Boylston, and Oakdale, or the burgeoning town of to the mills, water equals power. The dam would provide more jobs, more settlements. The most impacted town would be Oakdale. Damn Oakdale, a little town with nothing special. Or is it damn Oakdale, a sore spot in urban planning? But back in Oakdale, what is urban planning? We are just a small village. We will be okay here. Meanwhile, Boston needs water. Build the dam and take some land. 25% of the land from Sterling, 33% from Boylston and West Boylston. And Oakdale, just take it, all of it. Remember, Boston needs water. That was more than 100 years ago. Oakdale is gone, save the old stone church. The streets and houses are gone. The fields where farming once was king, now flooded, gone deep underwater. A whole town gone, but remember, Boston needs water. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah.
Mhm.
Boston needs water. So does Denver. Um, I guess most of us do, and that's really a poem about the lengths we will go, I guess, to get it. Thank you, Joe, very much. Tom, would you go next? All right.
Okay, now we're unmuted. This one is called Tribute to Larry. This was this I wrote just a couple weeks ago. Let me pull it. I'm sorry, a moment. I lost my friend on Sunday, my boxing buddy. First came Parkinson's, then dementia, finally COVID. His wife called me, knowing that he's no longer suffering brings us all comfort. This is Parkinson's. It takes your body. It shows no compassion. It shows no mercy. It takes what it wants. First my biceps, then my muscle rigidity, then stiffness, now my memories. But we fight. We get up, we find our balance, we do our yoga. We hit the heavy bag. It's a war of attrition. Every day's a battle. PD may win the battle, but I will win the war. All I ask is my body be 21 years old again. Simple words. You have Parkinson's. Knowing that he's no longer suffering brings us comfort. This is my body, for better or for worse. That was my tribute to Larry.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. That's the other thing, obviously, about poetry, I think, is that it's actually one of the traditional ways human beings have expressed grief, have shared grief, particularly. And it's a way most of us can be vulnerable in a appropriate, meaningful way. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Very much. Connie, would you read next, please?
Sure. Of course. Just a little bit of an origin story for me. It's called First Act by Connie Carpenter Phinney. Once upon a time in a frozen, faraway land lived a ruby-haired, freckle-faced girl dressed like a boy in a big brick house with her 3 boisterous brothers who kicked the can, captured the flag, and played tag deep into their fairy land nights. In winter, the slippery ice field, transformed by a spotlight, shined on children in motion, noses running, legs pumping, arms flailing, pucks flying, all skating. In hot, humid summers, lightning bugs flickered, mosquitoes bit and buzzed, bony knees scraped hard against concrete and crabgrass. From those fertile, frenzied fields, I sprang, eager to outrun, outplay, and conquer my world. Who wouldn't?
Ah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Another time and place and wonderful, wonderful way of being there. Thank you, Connie, so much.
Thanks for being there with me.
Yeah. Yes. Amy, would you give us another poem from the bug?
I will. Another poem from the bug. This one's called Insomnia. Pain, fighting for sleep, awake, sweating, swearing, pain like an ache, aching, eating, toast with cranberries and walnuts. Adjust the bed, adjust the pillows, covers off, covers on. Why won't my muscles relax? Pain, aching, sweating, swearing, roll. Hear something. It's the dog. It's a voice. No, it's the dog. Why won't my muscles relax? It's a voice. No, it's the dog. Pain, aching, roll. Thirsty, drink. I have to pee. No, I don't. Maybe I should. Go pee. Ugh. More toast? No. It's a voice. No, it's the dog. Roll. Put the phone down. Distract. Breathe. Relax. Why won't sleep? Sleep. More melatonin? No. Need to be awake tomorrow. Sleep. Legs heavy. Ears ring. Eyes sing with need. Closed eyes blossom color. Why? Sleep. Please. Pain. Heaviness. Ping. Awake.
I think you can, I think you can see, you being the audience, I think you can see from when I said poetry isn't for everyone, in the sense that you have to be willing to look sometimes at and deal sometimes with certain truths that aren't necessarily easy. Thank you, Amy, for sharing the sound of the dog in the middle of the night. Oh, that hound. Jan, are you ready to unmute?
Yep. Actually, I'm going to have Brahms wait because the problem initially was I could not get my microphone turned on at the very, very, very beginning, which was the whole problem. So I am going to put that one aside and instead give you Just for Me. Okay?
Perfect.
This is called Just for Me. It's vacation time in Georgia with my in-laws to be. I'm on my best behavior because I'm a Yankee, you see. It's night and the A-frame stands alone in the dark. No sounds, but oh, the aromas, dried leaves and overripened fruit, yummy potpourri for my well-being. My suitor's family in proper manner assigned the night's quarters. I got the couch. Not disappointed as fatigue was in charge, I dutifully bunked down without as much as a smooch. Dark was the air around me, quiet and still, and relegated to the couch against my will. But I was not alone. Oh no, not alone. For in the pitch black was the incessant buzzing of a horsefly. Now, lonely-hearted and annoyed, my night was certain to be deployed to the whims and noisy soaring, enjoyed by this very busy fly. Just when I thought I would go mad, I cannot take one more moment of this noise, I heard the most satisfying sound ever in my young life. 'Twas a clear and perfect blink. The fly had flown headlong and full speed into the glass and knocked himself out. What a beautiful and perfect sound. I laughed aloud and wanted to shout. Nothing did I hear after that, except the sound of my brain shifting down to neutral and then coasting into slumberland. I so wanted to share that moment, but alas, it was just for me.
Alas, yes, it was.
Alas.
Yes, yes. I love it. Thank
True
you, Jan.
story, by the way. Based on
Well, there's no, the thing about being a poet is there's no obligation to tell the facts. You just have to tell the truth. And
yeah, they're two different things.
Those are not always equivalent. And I'm not talking politics here. I'm talking philosophically speaking.
Indeed, indeed.
Thank you so much, Jan. This is
You're
a little
welcome.
strange for us in a way, because usually when one of us reads a poem, we take a few minutes to talk about it before we go to the next poem. So to go from poem to poem feels a little bit strange to us, I should say, but I hope the audience is enjoying it.
I hope so too.
Next, Davis, will you share your next poem with us, please?
Sure. This is called She Is Gone, and it's for our friend Diane. The wind claws, crows circle. Sweet, sad words spiral heavenward. Grief pools uncomfortably under unsteady feet. Hearts fracture, filtering collective resonance. Hearts fracture, filtering collective resonance. Bitter tears streak wounded faces. Look up, look up. A lone hawk swirling away until she is gone.
Thank you, Davis. Thank you so much. You'll notice, I hope, too, that poems don't have a single form. There are many, many forms for poems. Some rhyme, some don't. Some rhyme a time or two, but no more. Some are all over the page. Some are all over the place. Some are very tightly focused. Some are quite wild. Joe, will you bring us home from the end of round 2 here and share your final poem or poems with us, please?
Yeah. Okay, I think I'm ready. This one is a response to Martin Pickard, our friend from the UK, who put out a request for poems that are on the theme of Out of the Blue. So this is Out of the Blue by Joe Van Koeverden. It all seemed surreal. I had just stopped for a meal, was on my way back to the highway, when 2 cars going my way, out of the blue, collided in the lane beside me. It all seemed insane. I put my car in park and rushed over before a spark would light the car on fire and make the situation look dire, especially for the guy in the back, stuck, trying to get out with no luck. Out of the blue came a man with a fire extinguisher he ran. He doused the car like a pro, yelling at me to give it a go. I reached into the car, grabbing the guy, had no alternative or he could die. We locked our hands in a final grasp. I tried to pull him out of the car fast. The smoke and flames were hard to beat. I felt from behind men pulling me by my feet. It pulls us both clear from the car as it burst into flames from us not that far. The fire truck arrived, drenching what was hot. They checked us all over, hurt we were not. 6 months later, we came together once more as the Governor General came to adore the people that saved the young crew from an accident that came out of the blue.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Joe mentioned a group in the UK, Parkinsonsart.org. They have a wonderful website loaded with poems and paintings, all by people with Parkinson's. They hold an open mic every month, and Jan and I were there yesterday for their open mic. It was evening there, it was middle of the day here. And they are hosting a major gallery show of art and poetry from their website in London, and it will travel to a couple of other cities, and it'll be open online soon. So you can check that out at Parkinsonsart.org. And also there's a wonderful website based in Austin, Texas, if that matters these days when we're talking about websites, called thequiver.org. Also posts visual art and creative writing, especially poetry, by people with Parkinson's. And there's a ton of wonderful stuff on both of those places. Joe has some pieces on the Parkinsonsart.org. I know, Jan, I think you have a piece or two on thequiver.org. I do too. So check that out. I think you'll enjoy it. Those resources are are wonderful and can be very inspiring. So I'm going to close our cafe this evening, first by saying thanks to the poets for being here and sharing and being vulnerable and putting your work out there. And then, of course, to the audience who have come to hear us and hear our poems and sort of complete the work by letting it into your mind and spirit. This is a poem called To All the Parkies of the World. I call it a personifesto, as opposed to a manifesto, you see. Okay. Parkies of the world, be your own lovely self. If you must start a fire, hold it gently, safely in a circle of stones where others can gather and tell all our stories, share tea, other medicinal herbs, plants, and secrets. How we live with this condition, its multitudinous symptoms, manifold manifestations, bedeviling circumstances, explain how each of us makes our own meanings, negotiates a world designed for normals who will not understand because they're afraid it could happen to them. If you must burn, stay close to the river so you can jump in when the heat overtakes you. If you're confused, stay close to the river where trees can provide shade for long meditation retreats. Break open every metaphor. Examine all its implications before you plant it in your heart and in your soul. Every metaphor speaks many languages. You must understand them all before you say, Amen. Insist you receive compassionate care, respectful attention. I say, receive compassionate care, respectful attention. Resist the language of war and violence and destruction. If someone wants you to fight, 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 turn your back. Shuffle away as fast as you're able. Sing what you know of Lenin's Imagine. Abandon symbols, logos, insignias. These are by nature exclusive. Demand you give up some part of yourself to belong, to get along, to receive the benefits entitled only to true believers. Choose love, forgiveness, acceptance, mercy, especially with regard to yourself and to all those for whom Parkinson's is almost too difficult to bear. Finally, I recommend advocacy more than evangelism, which means you have to know what you need and what you want and find the courage to say so. Keep trying to connect even when it hurts. Use your voice, even if you've lost it. You haven't. You haven't. Thanks to the Davis-Phinney Foundation for hosting this event. Thanks to all. Good night.